Good evening, welcome. This is Ghana Tonight. We're live on news up at Desawe Kanda, also live on TV3 Ghana on Facebook, GhanaTV channel 279, all across the world on 3news.com. I am Alfred Okanse. Tonight, John Dramani Mahama, President of the Republic of Ghana, stays true to his promise to make appointments in the security sector before close of week. In fact, we take a look at what the appointees bring to the table and what their focus should be. If you watched Ghana Tonight last night, we told you about some of the names and indeed some of them playing out in the actual appointment. So we'll just do the recall and tell you those two that we told you last night on Ghana Tonight that their names are indeed penned down for the security sector appointments, as was confirmed this morning. Coming up as well here on Ghana Tonight, the New Patriotic Party minority in Parliament accuses the Operation Recover All Loots preparatory team of carrying out investigations without a mandate and rally support from the public to boycott the team's invitation in the subsequent days. We'll hear what their concerns really are. Also, Chairman Sabonsu, the former leader of the MPP in Parliament, as well, has been talking about this in an exclusive interview with my colleague Eric Maiwana, but we'll hear from him on this matter. Also, Nelson Roxy, the film is going to be joining us here on Ghana Tonight. Also, while calls heighten for a constitutional review to back the appointment of more women into public office, we hear from some of the women appointed into government, how ready they are, and then also some advocates who are also expecting a lot more appointments of women in the coming weeks. As always, you're an integral part of the conversation. Let's hear from you. The hashtag we're using is Ghana Tonight on Facebook and on X. Let's get talking. Let's settle for Ghana Briefs.
Former Majority Leader and MP for Swami, Oseiche Mensah Bonsu, has expressed reservations over the open confrontations witnessed during the vetting of President Mahama's first ministerial nominees. He argues that the vetting process should not have taken place at all, considering Parliament is still forming committees that would play a role in the vetting process.
The Committee on Selection shall comprise the Speaker as the chairperson and no more than 14 members of Parliament. The Committee on Selection shall prepare and report to the House within the first 10 sitting days after appointment the list of members to compose the standing and select committees of the House. What ought to have been done, acknowledging that the committees have not been set up yet, the Speaker could have called, and the Speaker adjourned the meeting to 21st. Yeah. When we know that the committees have not been set up, and the committees are supposed to join these people to make the appointment committee whole. So why?
The minority in Parliament is calling on all individuals invited by the Operation Recover All Loots, oral, to boycott the invitations, citing a lack of legal authority for the team's action. Swami MP John Dako spoke on behalf of the minority.
He was asked about the legality of this oral. He justified it. He justified the unconstitutional establishment and putting together of people who go about harassing former government officials. We believe that the establishment of that oral committee violates and flies in the face of our constitution.
The National Democratic Congress has begun processes to challenge what it describes as fraudulent declaration of parliamentary results in 3 constituencies within the Ashanti region in the just-ended 2024 elections. The party insists it duly won those seats and was not part of the recollation and redeclaration processes. Evan Samankwa is a legal team member of the National Democratic Congress.
We have 183 seats from NDC and 4 independent people have joined our people in Parliament. And for that matter, we have 187 members of parliament, so we will have the 2/3 majority. But the reason why we're pursuing this matter is for justice to be done. And I can assure the people of Ghana and Ashanti region, especially our supporters, numerous supporters in Ahafo North, Obuasi East, and Ahafo Southwest, that justice will be done and their people that they voted for will be in parliament.
President John Dramani Mahama has made key national security appointments in his government. A statement signed by the acting spokesperson to the president, Felix Kwachiofosu, said, "The appointments reflect President Mahama's commitment to enhancing national security and ensuring the safety of citizens." Prosper Douglas Bani, who will be the National Security Advisor to the President, DCOP Abdul Osman Razak, in charge of National Security Coordinator, COP Nathan Kofi Boache, retired, is the Director of Operations at the Presidency, and Charles Kipo is the Director General of National Intelligence Bureau. The Ashanti Regional Minister Designate, Dr. Frank Amwakuhene, has indicated his resolve to bridge the development gap in the region when confirmed to steer affairs in the region. The 34-year-old medical practitioner and Regional Secretary of the National Democratic Congress is keen on delivering to expectation and not let the youth of the country down.
To whom much is given, much is expected. It's also a responsibility to make sure that at the end of the day, I don't let the president down, and most especially, I don't let the youth of the Republic of Ghana down. I've monitored the media, both social media and the mainstream media, and I've realized that most of the youth take hope in the NDC and especially John Dramani Mahama for those appointments. So it means that I need to leave behind a good legacy, not only for myself, but for the good people, the young people of Ashanti region, Ghana at large.
It's more news on 3news.com. Make some time and visit 3news.com. This is Ghana Tonight. Now, news just coming through. It's a developing story we've been following quite closely here on Ghana Tonight. Just about some 30 minutes ago, the Malian Prime Minister, Abdoulaye Maga, has arrived in Accra on an official state visit. The Prime Minister will be in Accra to deliver a message to President John Dramani Mahama from the Malian President, His Excellency Assimi Maiga. He was welcomed at the Jubilee Lounge by the legal advisor to President Mahama, Marietta Brewer-Pierpont, and the National Security Advisor, Prosper Bani. So those are the videos you see there. Larry Bevlo-Latte as well is a part of the Security Committee of President John Dramani Mahama, also at the Jubilee Lounge. Just not too long ago, just a little over 30 minutes ago. This is news we'll be monitoring here on Ghana Tonight. So that's what you see there. The Malian Prime Minister has arrived in Accra on an official visit. The Prime Minister will be in Accra to deliver a message to President John Dramani Mahama from the Malian President. It was welcomed, as we saw there, by a number of government officials there. But let's hear from the legal advisor to the President, Marietta Brewer-Pierpont, just some few minutes ago.
It is indeed a pleasure and an honor to receive His Excellency Abdoulaye Maga and his team from Mali this evening. His Excellency John Dramani Mahama asked me to receive them on his behalf. We have meetings tomorrow to discuss the mutual interest between the two countries. It is a sign of the good relationship that the two countries have had in the past and will continue to have. And so this evening, you are welcome, you and your team, and we wish you a very warm stay in Accra. Thank you very much.
Well, so that's it. And in fact, Presidential Affairs correspondent, that's Komla Kluche, is going to be following this quite closely as well tomorrow, and the engagement between the Prime Minister of Mali and also the President of the Republic of Ghana. So stay with us here on TV3. We'll bring you a lot more on it. But this is Ghana Tonight. Coming up next, straight into the matters. The minority in Parliament, they're calling on the New Patriotic Party, accusing Operation Recover or Loot team of carrying out investigations without a mandate, and they're rallying support from the public to boycott the team's invitations. And in fact, they say that if the oral team extends an invitation to any former government official in the erstwhile Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo administration, they should not honor that invitation. This was at the press conference that they addressed earlier today in Parliament, indicating, in fact, raising the legal question about the establishment of this Operation Recover or Loot preparatory team. Here's the minority NPP in Parliament earlier today. Take a look.
When he appeared before the committee and was asked about the legality of this aura, he justified it. He justified the unconstitutional establishment and putting together of people who go about harassing former government officials. We believe that the establishment of that oral committee violates and flies in the face of our constitution. And so one would have expected that a law professor in the person of Dr. Ayeni would have condemned it. But rather, he justified it. Now his justification is now putting the work of the police CID, IOCO, and special prosecutor, and constitutionally established bodies out of business. It is concerning, and we want the people of Ghana to know that no serious country will entertain anything such as this.
Well, that's the John Darko, is a member of parliament for the Suame constituency, the current MP for Suame. Well, guess what? The former majority leader and the former MP for the Suame constituency, Oseche Mensah Bonsu, is saying that reintroducing public tribunals into the justice delivery system of the country will be setting the country back on its democratic gains. Now, debates have been rife over the period on the matter of the return of tribunals after the Attorney General designated Dr. Dominic Ayeni mooted that idea. And in fact, it's captured in the NDC manifesto that they presented to the Ghanaian people in 2024. Well, speaking exclusively to TV3, the long-term Suame Member of Parliament also called on President Mahama to speak up against ongoing flagrant human rights breaches currently being perpetuated, in his view, under oral. Take a look.
I mean, the public tribunals, we all know, was a menace. But because it was introduced by the PMDCE, it found its way into the 1992 constitution. And we all know that it has become extinct. I'm surprised the Honorable Attorney General nominee is trying to suggest to us that he wants to, dust it and bring it back. It will be a national tragedy. And I think that the previous administration, the previous constitutional review, said we should do away with it. The constitutional committee, everybody was talking against it, that no, we should purge the constitution of that. And then a lone voice coming to say that we should bring it back. I don't know what purpose is going to serve. And so I think that we should move away from it. As for the oral and
there are those who are drawing linkages between a possible return of the tribunal and the work that this committee is to be doing. Do you see the linkage there as well?
What work?
I mean, the oral.
You say, what is oral? What is it?
Say they are gathering evidence of loot.
Of loot. First of all, if you are saying that you want to restore what is
public confidence
all looted assets and so on, you are writing letters to people to return this and do this and so on. What does that mean? What does that mean? If you are saying that, if you are alleging looting, already you have established criminality against individuals. But is that what the Constitution provides? A person is deemed innocent until proven guilty. You are saying that the person has looted. You are waiting for, you are asking him to return. You write a letter to the person. What authority do you have to do that? What's your own authority to do that? You are shredding the image of the person, right? And yet you have not established through any due process the fact that the person has engaged in any criminality. Because there's a new regime. There's no coup in Ghana. We are not in a coup regime. Everything we should resort to due process. A person has the right to own his property.
Right.
If you think that he used unauthorized means to acquire the property, let's resort to due process, right, and retrieve it for the state. But you don't take this in your own hands to say that at the very outset
they've been visiting sites.
You have established criminality, and the person has looted even before the person is properly investigated and tried. What kind of system is that?
They've been visiting states, sites, lands, and all that, asking from
Kumasi today,
for national security to station them.
Constituted themselves into, one of them a journalist, another person, a former, hand engaged by the previous administration, and the two of them have come together and they are saying that, we've written letters to these people to return this and return this. If you don't, we come there. And listening to them, you better be wow. The dignity of any person in a democracy. What authority do you have? Say, office will be for the B. Was never be wow. I'm coming to beat you. I'm coming to lash you. What is Ghana degenerating into? And I think that the president should speak to these things. I think the president, as a president, should stand his authority. That we are not in the animal kingdom. Let us respect due process. If you have any suspicion, draw the attention of the appropriate authority. Let investigation be conducted. If the person is found culpable and he has to be charged, he would be, to serve as a deterrent.
Right.
But you don't take the law into your own hands and start issuing threats to people. I think it's going to dent the image of Ghana.
Well, that's Honorable Osechi Mensah-Bonsu there with that interview with my colleague Eric Mayonaegbeta. But what has been the work of this oral preparatory team? Does it really include what Osechi Mensah-Bonsu talked about? Is there any record of this oral preparatory team beating up people or sanctioning the beating up of people, lashing people, or as it were, violating the people's rights, and then also the issuance of threats? Well, one person who has been following the work of this oral team quite closely is a private legal practitioner, because there's also a matter of law that Osechi Mensah-Bonsu is asking. Nelson Roxon Dafiameko is Member of Parliament for the South Dike constituency. It's just a lawyer. Is joining us on Zoom right now. Counsel, good evening. Thank you for joining us on Ghana Tonight. Hello? If you can unmute for me and kindly sit back for us.
Hello?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, but your voice is so low.
Is it okay now? Can you hear me?
I can hear you, but it's so low. But
great. I mean,
let's make progress.
Great. You listen to Osechi Mensah-Bonsu there. It raises first of all the matter of the legal basis for the establishment of this oral preparatory team. He's not the first person to have asked this question during the vetting of Dominic Ayine. You were there as a member of the appointments committee. It came up as well. Is there any merit in this particular issue that keeps coming up every now and then? Honorable, if you can mute your TV and listen to me on the
Thank you very much. I've mute the TV is mute now.
Yeah.
Now, I am wondering on what basis Osechi Mensah-Bonsu, former majority or minority leader, and people of like mind will make this point. Unless, of course, they are saying the government in power, as we speak, is an illegal one. Our constitution mandates an executive president with executive power to exercise the authority of state. Now, the president decides that as part of his programs or policies to dealing with matters concerning the unlawful acquisition of state property, especially landed property, he is putting together a team to do what we call a preparatory work in respect of checking documentations and ascertaining the validity or otherwise of these landed properties variously acquired by some public officers and government appointees, notwithstanding whether the appointee belongs to this government or belongs to any other government in the past. Then my respected former leader of parliament comes to say it's an illegal process, that the president has no power to look into these transactions. Is that what he's saying?
Well, he says that...
Hold on. No, is that what he's saying?
Well, he makes the point that it must be within... He says that the law, where is the law that gives the president the mandate to do that?
Yes, so let me make the point. They claim that the establishment of ORA violates law, violates the constitution, yet they are unable to cite one single provision of either the constitution or any statute in place to make the point. None. Simply none. They are just saying this whimsically. No authority to back whatever they are saying. So let me bring some examples to bear on the discussions. Che Mensah and his government, for 8 years, they rolled out what they call free senior high school education. 8 years. It was never backed by any law. But they told us that was the vision of the government, the executive president. So they spent in excess of 7 billion on this program in 8 years. It was not backed by any law till they left office yesterday. Was free SHS an unlawful program? Now let me add this. There were complaints that our environments were being degraded in many parts. Without bringing a law to parliament, this government decided to roll out what they call Operation Galam Stop. They gave ammunition to police and soldiers and other security men in this country. They went to these areas in the forest. They went to these forest areas. They went to terrorize Ghanaians because they claimed that they were doing galamsey. They took the excavators. They took whichever F-movie equipment they could gather from them. They ferried them to Accra and sold it to themselves. No law backed such an operation. We spent millions of Ghana cedis on it. Was Operation Galam Stop an illegal operation? Innocent Ghanaians lost property. Some are still chasing their excavators. They cannot find it. It's been sold. Let me again add this. They have what they call Operation Vanguard. Again, they rolled it out. We put plenty state money into it. They gave money, ammunition again to security men. They ferried them to Accra and so they terrorized people. They took their property. They could not account for it. They took gold from people, raw gold from people. They have not accounted for it. There was no law backing such an operation. It was a government policy directed at checking galamsey operations in our forest areas and biomes. So when we speak about constitutionality or legality of government policies, They should be the last people talking.
Well,
but the point I want to make is that where an executive president such as we have in this country is elected into office, the Constitution mandates him to take any appropriate measure, any measure he deems fit to deal with matters of state. In any case, they have been telling us to go to court. Within the past 8 years, I've been to the Supreme Court over 10 times on any matter I thought was unconstitutional. So if they are of the humble view that the work and the mandate given to the Operation Aura, which of course features in our manifesto, is not as if it was hidden from the people. We campaign throughout this country and promise the people that one of the key programs that will roll out to check malfeasance within public space in respect of our illegal acquisition of public property will be Operation Aura. So if today they think that it is an illegal government program or policy, they know where to go to.
Well, the point that he raises is that, and that's one of the issues that you touched on earlier, that one of the objectives for the oral team proper, because what is in place now, from what we know, is the preparatory team. This is not the oral team itself. That's the communication, as far as we know, with this Samalokuja to a Blackwell-led 5-member committee. They say that their work ends when the Attorney General is eventually appointed. But he, Osei Mensah, together with others who raised a question about legality, say to determine the unlawfulness of a particular action on the part of a former government official, that determination must be done through a lawful process by a court of competent jurisdiction. At what point does the oral come in now?
Now, Okansi, Aura is a government program. It's a government of Ghana policy. The committee, as it is presently constituted. Hello, Okansi.
I can hear you. I can hear you.
Yes, I'm saying that Aura, as it is presently, the committee undertaking the Aura program, as it is presently constituted, has the mandate to employ any other person that will assist them to achieve its mandate. What is the mandate of this committee? It is to gather information. Now, where they make the point that their work will end when the Attorney General assumes office. The Attorney General hasn't assumed office. He's just been nominated and vetted. Parliament is here to go through the corollary process of debating the report that will emanate from the appointment committee and going through the approval processes or otherwise. So the Attorney General hasn't taken office. So the committee that's mandated by the president to do this work has to continue. Now, where people challenge some of this, I'm saying, go to court. If you feel aggrieved, go to court. Where they speak of due process, it is only when things favor the MPP that they take is due process. It is only when things matters favor MPP, then they talk of due process. But when they are doing it against it is not due process. All right? So it is due process because the committee has been properly established under the executive mandate of the president, His Excellency John Dramani Mahama. Are they saying that under the powers given to the president cannot do what he's doing? The president can appoint anybody or group of persons to advance his programs and policies. They can go and test this in a court of law.
But the work of this committee obviously must be guided by the existing laws, is it not? Yes, the appointment can be made, but the question about legality still hangs. Or you think that there's no merit in that? And please put the TV off and listen to me on Zoom, please, because there's that delay. If you can listen to me, that'll be good.
In some time, Mr. Okansi.
Yes, I can hear you.
Mr. Okansi, I'm listening. You're on the phone. Your voice is so faint, so
okay.
I'm struggling to. Yes, your voice is so faint, so I'm struggling.
Well, you heard the question, so if you can answer it briefly for me. Yeah.
Now. Okay. Now, Mr. Okansi, sometime in June 2017, my personal property, constructed on a land that was given to me by some chiefs in Adenta whom I did some work for. It was raised down one dome by operatives of the then government. They didn't go to court. They brought a dozer one with soldiers and raised down my property. When I questioned it, the military told me that they didn't even have the vehicles that came to participate in the demolition of my property. They said they didn't even know the vehicles. The men who came in military regalia, they didn't know them, but they were gun-toting soldiers. So this government has done more terrible things. So if there's a committee that is implementing ORA, I think they should be thankful. What is due process? Has any member of the committee that is rolling out the ORA program engaged in any irregularity in terms of gathering evidence? Has anybody's fundamental rights been breached? Has anybody been bullied? Has anybody been physically molested, attacked? If they write a letter to you, inviting you to provide information, does not sit within the terms of the Right to Information Act that he chairman has led his government to pass in Parliament? The right to information does not only operate where an individual wants to seek information from government. Government can also seek information from individual. That is the right to information.
Thank you very much. And that point that you end with is one that we also may be asking if anybody has records of that, because Osechi also talks about these oral team persons, members instructing people to be beating and lashed. We don't have any records of that, and that's a point that you were making in ending. But then again, I appreciate your time. Thank you very much for joining us here on Ghana Tonight. This matter is a conversation that will continue, and it's not ending tonight. I appreciate you for joining us. Nelson Ross Ndafem is a member of Parliament for the South Dike Constituency, is a private legal practitioner as well, and talking about matters related to the presidency. Coming up next on Ghana Tonight, John Dramani Mahama stays true to his promise to make appointments in the security sector before close of week. We take a look at what the appointees really are bringing onto the table, and then also going into other matters related to the expectations of some security analysts as well. This is Ghana Tonight. But even before we get into the matters of the appointments that have been announced today, earlier today, there was a communication from the presidency, and that related to diplomatic passports, because there's an update to what we got earlier. In fact, it came through just about an hour ago. But this is what came through earlier today. The presidency requested the recall of diplomatic and service passport issued by the previous Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo administration. And the exercise, according to the presidency, aligns with the government's commitment to ensuring the proper use and administration of official travel documents by national and international standards. The recall aims to prevent misuse, safeguard the country's reputation, and maintain the integrity of our diplomatic engagements. Also, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs should take the following steps to facilitate the process: issue a public notice. And take a look at the first step. They are supposed to issue a public notice, notify all holders of diplomatic and service passports issued by the Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo administration to return these documents to the ministry for verification and possible reissuance where applicable. Also, set a deadline for compliance specify a reasonable timeline for all concerned individuals to comply with the recall latest by the 24th of January 2025, conduct verification, undertake a thorough review of all returned passports to ensure that they align with the current eligibility criteria for issuance, and talk about no hesitance. If they want any clarification, got to get back to the presidency. Now, so these are the steps that the presidency asks that the Ministry of Foreign Affairs employs to recall all diplomatic and service passports issued by the Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo administration. Well, guess what? There's been an update from the Foreign Affairs Ministry, just came through, hot on the plate, just a little over an hour ago here on Ghana Tonight, and we have it. Well, they are asking this list of persons who were issued diplomatic passports by the previous administration to return them. Take a look at the list. Former ministers and their spouses, former members of parliament, irrespective of political affiliation. If you have a diplomatic or service passport, return it. Former members of the Council of State and their spouses, return them. And former retired justices of the superior and lower courts, those who have diplomatic and service passports, they're supposed to return them. Former regional ministers, metropolitan, municipal, and district chief executives, well, chief executive officers of state institutions, chairs and members of boards, all these persons were issued diplomatic passports, and they also expected to return them. Well, they are not the only ones. There's more. Officials of the National Cathedral Project, officials of the National Cathedral Project were also issued diplomatic and service passports. They expected to return them. Well, so this is not news for those of you who have been following Reverend Kosi and Samuel Okuja to a Black Quest back and forth, and the matters in court. You will know that this matter of a diplomatic passport for Reverend Kosi Boateng came up in court. Well, it's on the list. Officials of National Cathedral Project issued diplomatic and service passports. They're supposed to return them. Former political ambassadors and dependents, businessmen and entrepreneurs, and religious and traditional leaders, former government functionaries, all of them are supposed to return their diplomatic and service passports issued to them by the previous administration. So that's the information coming through right now, hot on the plate from the Foreign Affairs Ministry. It's a statement they issued. So if you're watching us right now, you are in the category of persons, you know you have a diplomatic and service passport, and all these list of persons mentioned in there. The information is that by the 20th of this month, you're supposed to return them, according to the information coming through from the Foreign Affairs Ministry. And Colonel Festus Obaje is a security analyst joining us. Colonel Festus Obaje, retired. Good evening. Thank you for joining us here on Ghana Tonight. First of all, start off with you on this conversation about this move by the presidency to have a recall of the diplomatic and service passport. From the security perspective, how does that strike you?
I need to make some assumptions that the president was acquainted with a list of persons holding the diplomatic passports by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and I think regional integration. That's my assumption. And that the list was scrutinized and that the authorities found that there were a wide range of persons who should not be entitled to hold those passports and therefore were being directed to hand them over. Or that there was no list at all that was provided. So in a very general directive sense, that if you know that you are holding one, please hand it over. I'll go with the first assumption, because when these passports are issued, there is a record of them by the ministry. So I assume that the government might have found some persons who probably were not even qualified to hold the passports, or others who are leaving office and therefore are not entitled. So they are no longer representatives of the people and of the government. Whichever way we look at it, the directive serves the purpose of protecting the image and integrity of the government. So nobody uses some of these documents in the name of Ghana to damage the country's image and get us to be blacklisted so that the passport, if you like, will not even be respected by certain jurisdictions.
And a very important point that you're making there, and we'll see how the coming days will look like on this matter, Professor Sobwaje. But to the substantive matter here, and just as I told you here on Ghana Tonight last night, we had picked strong signals from the presidency that some persons were going to be named in the security sector appointees by President John Dramani Mahama. Well, I put out some 5 names last night. 2 of them have been announced this morning as part of the appointments announced this morning by the presidency in the security sector. But let me just refresh your minds if you're just new to the party. Last night, this is what I put out here on Ghana Tonight. And these persons, the likely appointments into the security sector, mentioned to you Prosper Douglas Kwekubani, a former chief of staff. Well, this morning, this was confirmed, and we're keeping close tabs on the strong signals we're getting from the presidency on these likely appointments to the security sector. The next person I talked about, Kofi Tobikwachi, he's not on the list that came through earlier this morning, and Larry Bevlolati as well. And then also Nathan Kofi Boakye, he was on the list this morning that was released today. Retired Commissioner of Police Commander 1, affectionately called, with the rest of many notorious criminals in this country, Atayi being topical of one, and then also Lieutenant General Peter Augustine Blay, retired, and then we have a Brigadier General Fuseni Idris as well. Well, this morning, the communication from the presidency confirmed a couple of the names that we put out last night here on Ghana Tonight. Here we have it. This is it. For the National Security Advisor to the President, Prosper Bani has been appointed. DCOP Abdul Osman Razak, National Security Coordinator. Also, communication came through this morning. COP retired Nathan Kofi Boakye, Director of Operations at the Presidency, to oversee operational effectiveness in security matters. Confirmed this morning. So Charles Kipo as well, Director General of National Intelligence Bureau. These are the 4 security sector related appointments that came through so far. So the names we put out earlier, some may in the coming days, barring any last minute changes. We'll hear some of the names coming up. But Professor Sobwaje, find out your thoughts about these 4 first security sector appointments by President John Mahama.
Well, I've said a couple of times today elsewhere that these are persons that I either don't know at all, like DCOP Razak. I've not even heard the name before, although I might probably have crossed paths with him at the Kofi Annan International Peacekeeping Center, but he's not somebody that I think I know. COP Kofi Boakye, like probably you, I know him in the media space as a police officer. I've only communicated with him once when he was interested in a document I had cited, a South African Police Service document, and he requested that I should share it with him, so I shared the document. Honorable Prosper Bani, I know that in the NDC too, he was a minister. You know, he lives with me in the same area, but I've never met him in the estate, for instance. As for the Mr. Kipo, I would say that is the first time I'm hearing his name. So, in other words, I wouldn't be able, based on how well I know them, to profile whether they are competent or not. So I'm making an assumption once again that the appointing authority would have done due diligence in checking the background, you know, their personal character, their what do you call it, their professional competencies, their skills, their knowledge, their experiences, you know, to be able to say that, okay, these people have the kinds of experiences and expertise and skills and knowledge I'm looking for. And I think based on their personalities and based on my political vision, these are the people that I think I can work with them. One conspicuous or striking, nature of the appointment is the absence of any military officer there. So I have said that it is civilian police heavy. There's no military. Maybe in future we're going to see a military officer. The absence of a national security coordinator's office will be very, very dangerous, not for Ghana alone, but for any country. So all countries have a coordinating body. I would say that the timing is right because already, and I've been saying this a couple of times today, some persons in the former administration, previous administration, have left office. Either they resigned officially or they resigned unofficially. They've left. The same goes for the intelligence sector, the security sector. The Goro boys who were recruited as national security operatives, information I have is that some of them have left their posts. And some of these posts could be on the borders, in our border areas, internally, in every place that you go. There are intelligence officers there. You might not know. So the earlier these officers, took charge and then tried to redress some of these imbalances and gaps and loopholes, and then orientate the national security outfit as a national interest, group, not one of partisan national security, where national security spies on the opposition. And I've got research evidence to show that Ghana is among, or was among, a number of countries, African countries, which bought Israeli software to spy on political opposition. That should not be the case going forward. So that is one of the image cleanup that this national security outfit, has to achieve in order to rebuild the trust. So you don't have boys going around, carrying weapons, saying we are from national security, Well, that's not the work of national security. It's a coordinating body. It formulates policies. It is not established constitutionally as another armed unit. So if based on the intelligence picture, the state needs to undertake an operation, then the president goes to the constitutionally mandated bodies. Is it work that the police must do? Or is it work that the army or the armed forces must do? Is it work that immigration must do? Is it work that customs? There is no need whatsoever for any armed element to be sitting at the so-called Blue Gate, carrying weapons, and having their own command structure, which invariably becomes a partisan, political command structure. So these are my expectations as an individual from how I saw national security.
I see.
In the previous life.
I see. So the fundamental point I pick up from there is that, yes, these four persons, they fit the bill, but they've got a lot of house cleaning to do from your analysis in the current structure of the national security architecture that they are being appointed to, correct?
Therefore, ordinarily, like Johnny Hughes has been lamenting on his morning show, the cleanup would involve anybody who is over the retirement age to go home or be reconsidered for a short extension or that kind of stuff. The tribal balance, I don't want to use the word tribal, but ethnic balancing is important. Honorable Professor Bani, I stand to be corrected, is an Ewe. Kipo and Razak, I suppose, are from the north. Kofi Boachi is an Ashanti man. So we see a bit of ethnic balance in there. Now, you don't want to see a national security outfit that is hugely Akan or hugely Ewe as during the days of the PNDC, for instance. So that is one exercise that they might have to do. Then the backgrounds of those who are already in that system. Where did they come from? How were they recruited? What kinds of training did they do? How have we vetted them? I.e., check their backgrounds, that they don't have any criminal, records and so on and so. So it's a lot of work that they need to do because the National Security Act needs to maintain trust, public trust in its work. So they disabuse the minds of Ghanaians that national security operatives are those boys who nobody knows, who come around saying that we are from national security and we are doing XYZ, and invariably without any bench warrant whatsoever. Those are among the things that I think national security will be concerned with. But look, the outgoing government, in terms of national security, Honorable Kandapa, has done a great job. So they will be handing over notes that they will need to study and review and then realign whatever they take over or assume in the direction of the vision of the incoming president. It's going to take time, but eventually they will be able to gain critical mass in terms of all the right people in the appropriate numbers at the places where they are required to be.
Kenneth Professor Sabuaje, retired. I appreciate your time. Thank you very much for joining us here on Ghana Tonight. He's a security analyst with his thoughts on the first set of the 4 persons appointed into the security sector by President John Dramani Mahama. This is Ghana Tonight. We're going to go for a quick break. When we're back, there are already some development regarding the appointments of municipal chief executives across the country. Stay with us. Welcome back. This is Ghana Tonight. Now, with the appointment of MMDCE is expected in the coming days and weeks ahead of us. Well, there's something different that's happening right now. The President, John Dramani Mahama, has just put out and let's put it on the screen right now here on Ghana Tonight. Pandai, we're seeing the northern region. We see Bimbala, some list of applicants who are put out there for the MMDCEs, 17 of them, as we are seeing right now. And then also for the Bimbala area, 13, Gusheu, 11, Karaga, 12, Saboba, 8, Miom, 14 applicants. Our Northern and Savannah regional correspondent, Christopher Marco, is joining us right now. Christopher, help us understand what's going on right now with these numbers of applicants we are seeing as reported earlier.
So, Alfred, I can say that the Northern region has recorded a lot of applicants who are seeking to be nominated for confirmation by various assemblies as metropolitan, municipal, and district chief executives. As it stands now, for the list that has come from the Northern region, the Sagnargu municipality is leading with the numbers with some 23 applicants. If you go to the Tatali Sanguli district, which is also recording the least numbers, that is 7 in this particular race to becoming the metropolitan, municipal, or district chief executive. Now, the regional executives of the party has constituted a vetting committee, and per the constitution, they have some persons who are qualified and also one appointee of the member of parliament according to the constitution. And so, as it stands now, that of Northern region, the vetting will start on Saturday, just this coming Saturday, and end on Tuesday. In all, over 200 applicants for 16 metropolitan, municipal, and district assemblies in the Northern region are in this race.
I see, and the numbers, as you see, over 200, in fact, 206 applicants. We have them broken down. Kwandai, 17, Bimbala, 13, Gusheu, 11, Karaga, 12, Saboba, 8, and Mion, 14, and we have Nantong, 13, Kumbungu, 15 applicants, Tatalis, Sanguli, 7, Wolensi, 9 applicants, Zabzugu, 8, Yendi, 14. Now, so previously, we wouldn't have known these numbers because then it would have gone directly to the presidency, right? And then the lobbying will take place. But there's something different happening now, Chris, isn't it? It's happening at the regional level to prune down these numbers before it goes straight to the presidency, correct?
Yes. So there is a circular from the National Secretariat of the NDC, that is the office of the National Secretary, and the circular is saying that the constituency will have to trim the numbers to like 5 or 7, depending on the numbers, and submit them to National, and National will submit 3 names to the presidency or the National Executive Committee, and so that's the number that is supposed to go to Accra are supposed to be 3, and that of the region it's supposed to be 5 or 7, depending on the number. So that is what is happening now. Other regions have commenced their vetting, and as we speak, some are even done, but that of Northern region is supposed to start on Saturday and end on Tuesday. Alfred, let me quickly put this through. If you look at the constituencies that have just had new MPs, new entrants, these are the constituencies that have the high numbers of people interested in becoming district chief executives for this administration.
Fantastic point there, and Christopher Marco, appreciate you. Let's go to the Western North region, where we understand. Chris, you mentioned that the process has kickstarted in some other regions. Here's what we know for Western North. Our Wing constituency, there are some 8 applicants coming through for the MMDCE's position. Akontombra, 6, Bibiani Amiaiso Bekwai, 17, Bia East constituency, 8, Joaboso, 3 of them. Sefirioso, 8, Bode, 5, Swamang, 5, and Bia West, 8. Matthew, it's our correspondent in the Western North region, Matthew Ahiave, is joining us on the telephone right now. Matthew, good evening to you. Has the process started in terms of the vetting of these applicants? in the Western North region?
Okay, Alfred, good evening. As Christopher said earlier on, Western North region vetting started yesterday, and throughout today, we were able to finish with the huge number that picked a nomination form. In fact, the numbers were 79 in total, and 11 of them were disqualified. And surprisingly, it's the nominees were, aside these nominees, there was only one lady or a woman who happened to be among this large number of men. But unfortunately, she was disqualified just because, according to the party's constitution, you must serve the party for 4 years before you can pick up a nomination for positions like this. And we've been engaging the regional executives, and the chairman made this clear to us that, in fact, before the vetting, when you are being called, you will be told that, or they will tell you the district or the municipal needs only one leader. So therefore, if you have been disqualified, you shouldn't, or one shouldn't get annoyed or take it serious. And in fact, it was so amazing that everybody received this in good faith. And when as you mentioned the breakdowns, in fact, the numbers were huge. As my brother was saying, supposed to be 5 or 3 to before it gets to the national level. Those numbers were quite huge than what he is saying. So we are looking forward to hear something concerning these numbers at today's vetting.
Great. Matthew Ahiave, thank you very much for this update from the Western North. It's a Western North regional correspondent there. Well, thank you for staying with us here on Ghana Tonight. Join us same time tomorrow for another conversation. Let the conversation continue on TV3 Ghana on Facebook and also on 3FM 927. Join the Sunrise team tomorrow morning. We were also live on 3FM 92.7. Also join the New Day team on TV3. My name is Alfred Okanse. Have a good night.
Ghana Tonight is brought to you by Flamingo Paint. Superior durability, superior hiding, superior coverage, simply superior.